Sunday night, it's 8 o'clock. Welcome to All Lacrosse Live. I'm Gary Groob in Toronto, and with me, as always, I've got Shawn Slaght over in Moose Jaw. Shawn, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Gary.
Excellent. Excellent. By the way, we won.
Yeah.
Can't beat Buffalo, but, we won. That was my Champions Cup final, so nothing else matters now. And over in Connecticut, I got Muffler Mike. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing good.
We won, Mike. Little giddy still, little giddy. It's like everybody looking around in the arena going, we could win this. We could. We can. And even still at the end of the game is like, we did? We did. But yeah. We'll get into all that stuff. We got a good show for you tonight. We got ALL playoffs. We have NLL busy week this week, as well as we had the Rochester Bats Invitational over in Rochester, which yours truly went down and caught, which was a lot of fun as well. And a whole lot of other stuff to come. Just before we get rolling, just a reminder to everybody that all of our shows are streamed live across Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, also Twitch. Also, you can catch us on Spotify the following morning. Remember to hit the subscribe, follow, and like buttons, and always share with your friends, family, and anybody else you can get a hold of. Please enjoy all of our affiliates across the Streampunk Entertainment Network, which include Fly Like an Eagle, which include Keep It in the Ring, which include soccer and football shows, CFL shows, Streampunk Cinema, Streampunk Combat, all kinds of things for all kinds of people. If you missed a show, no worries. You can grab all of them on YouTube, whether it be at Streampunk Sports, Streampunk Pennsylvania Sports, Streampunk Combat, Streampunk Cinema, or, of course, all across all the time, which you will catch retro games, interviews, library shows, as well as fights, press conferences, and a whole lot more. Please head down there. Please subscribe and tell everybody about it. Remember, you can stay up to date with all sports by visiting streampunkentertainment.com with great articles from our huge staff of contributors. Also, a reminder, we're brought to you by 60. 60 is Canada's newest and most exciting uniform and teamwear brand, delivering top quality uniforms and teamwear that reflects the spirit and identity of each team. Their commitment to innovation and excellence sets them apart, ensuring that every customer experiences the perfect blend of style and functionality. Unleash your greatness with 60. Add Lax Talk 10 to every single order for a 10% discount on your order. How do you get to them? Easy. You can first go to the QR code, which is in the center of your screen, or you can go to Instagram and get sweet_60. You can go right to their email at info.sweet60@gmail.com, or go right to their website at www.sweet60.ca/60. Alrighty. Eduardo's with us. Glad to see you're feeling better, Eduardo.
Hey, Eduardo.
Hey, Eduardo.
Well, guys, a few things going on. Number one, a reminder as always. First of all, I'm wearing a green hat because, of course, it was St. Patrick's Day the other day. Happy belated St. Patrick's Day. If you're still drinking green beer, sorry, the day's done. Reminder, just coming up not long from now, May 30th, which is just around the corner, guys. We're almost into April now. Lacrosse Day for our champions over in Peterborough, all in support of the Special Olympics in Peterborough and Special Olympic local high school programs. A full day of activities over at the Memorial Center in Peterborough, which include members of local Lacrosse Peterborough at 9 in the morning, 4:30 Legends of Lacrosse, a game there, which is something you don't want to miss. It's just a lot of fun. But the biggest one, and circle this, is 7 p.m. over at Sticks Pub, just across the street from Memorial Center. Story time by the Legends. Its admission is free. All donations welcome. And, contact Ernie Element for the inside scoop at 705-927-2370 or at Mr_Element@hotmail.com if you need any more details. Let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave. in the attempt. I love it. And it is such a fantastic day. Been there before, seen it, had Ernie on the show before. It is just, they've all got hearts of gold. And anytime you can get a chance to sit in a room with the legends and listen to stories, man, to be a fly on the wall is just gold. And you have the opportunity. So can't beat it. Can't beat the price. Nothing. It will not cost you a dime nickel. Get your butt on over there. The seventh team in the Ontario Series Lacrosse unveiled their new logo, and I think it's a cool one. So let's have a gander at that one. And it is the Belleville Kodiaks. So looking forward to seeing them play, as well as all the other teams. And if you want to catch up with me, I will be in an Ontario Series Lacrosse arena coming near you all summer long. So check it out. Some great lacrosse. Vancouver clinched with their little to-do. So they joined Saskatchewan in the clinch spot. In fact, with Saskatchewan's defeat, they are now tied atop the NLL with 11-4 records. So things got a lot tighter this weekend. I think there's like a eight-way tie for second now. All right, Mike? 8 ways?
Don't be invoking WLA here.
Well, it's like 4 teams at 9-5 now. So anyway, over in the WLA. Now that you brought that up, Mike, we had a trade, and well, it looks like Victoria is starting to load up so that they can try and keep up with Six Nations, and they just were able to get the rights for Eli McLaughlin for the next 2 seasons. If you want to see the entire story, go over victoriashamrocks.com. But in the meantime, Eli McLaughlin and a second-round pick in 2027 go to the Shamrocks, and over to Burnaby because the first-round pick 2027, first-round pick 2029, and future considerations, which include a kitchen sink, I believe. Now, I had mentioned that the Invitational, Rochester Bats Invitational, was yesterday, and well, here are the boys over in Rochester. Interestingly enough, they played the Utica Yeti, and well, the skill levels are not the same. They're kind of like this, and well, it was 19-4. But if you go on my page, you'll see that the Harlem Globetrotters of lacrosse were doing things. Now, one of the goals was scored between the legs off a behind the back pass, a la Chase Fraser, and well, it was kind of fitting because, well, being on the bench for the Bats, they had mentioned to Chase that they were going to do it, and here's Chase on the bench, which was a lot of fun. It was great to catch up with Chase. Now remember, Chase does play for them for the Laxney team, and they've won the last 2 years. They've won 3 of the last 5 years, I believe, the Laxney Championship. So it means a lot to them, and that was their 4th annual Invitational. Talking with Chase before the game, he is almost ready to come back. Luckily, it was a partial ACL tear, and if you look at some of the videos he's put out, his mobility is almost at 100%. He was talking about some of the state-of-the-art equipment they have in Vegas for the chambers and other things and whatever for his rehab, and he goes, that's why it's going so quickly, is you have all this state-of-the-art stuff, and by the time I'm done, I work out for 2 hours, I rehab for 2 hours, and I'm more rested than I started. So, we're into the age of technology, and that's a huge bonus for everybody. See these guys back way quicker, way healthier. Not rushed back, but just having them back. All right, a few milestones to get a hold of. Number 1, Eddie Como, with his win, is 150 NLL wins, second all-time in the list. Congratulations to Eddie. Huge accomplishment. One knocking on his door, of course, is Matt Sawyer. He had his 100th career coaching win, 92 of which came with the Rock. 8 came with the Boston Blazers. You'll remember that team, right? Way back when, around 2010. Who was his goalie, Mike? Who was his goalie?
I believe that would be Nick Rose.
He was the second goalie, yes. Anthony Cosmo was also on that team. And the Dawson brothers and a whole few other guys in there, too. It was a pretty stacked team. It's too bad that they had one of those Toronto Rock from Scotiabank Arena deals where you don't get any parking or any concessions, and good luck. And what happened is they went the way of the dodo. So for those of you belly aching about Toronto over in Hamilton, unless you wanted them to be the way of the Blazers, Trivial Pursuit question, they had to do the move. So anyways, let's move on. Frank Scigliano made the list. 5,515 saves, 10th all-time in the list. Congratulations, Frank. Jake Withers is now 10th all-time in NLL history in career loose balls, passing Pat McCready for 10th all-time in the list. Stephen Kehoe with 500 career points now. Congratulations, Stephen. Keegan Ball, 100 points. And Mike, if you look, probably 87 of them are goals. One other note. Excuse me. One other note. OSL opening weekend is May the 2nd, and it is up in Lakefield Arena in Lakefield, Ontario, which has the Brooklyn Merchants facing the Ennismore James Gang. So please, if you're somewhere in the neighborhood, which means anybody in Ontario, please get your butts on out there. Support local lacrosse. Should be a great game. Remember, the Merchants are the defending Ontario Series Lacrosse champions. So let's go see them and see how the season is going to play out. Should be a good one. Just before we further, let's get this out of the way. I was going to wait till Pat came by, but Pat's not coming by this week. But here we are. Shawn, another big week. I don't think even had changed numbers.
Yeah, you may have won, but
I will gladly stay in last place if I raise the Champions Cup. Thank you very much. Very happy to stay in last place. I may tank the rest of the season if it guarantees me a chance to.
Because that one loss I had was.
It guarantees me another patch on my jacket. I'll happily stay in that last place there. And, which just goes to show you I was picking against my normal thinking, and I would have gone 2-4 then. Now, I'm not upset about this because one game was a comeback that just fell short, and the other was a collapse. So both of which should have been wins. But
who's counting?
After the last couple of weeks of being in the absolute toilet, still hearing the flushing sounds, I'm just giddy to be above 500 to be able to, maybe I can nip the heels over there of Mike.
Yeah, Mike's not even in the basement anymore.
No, he's starting to climb up the standings there. Pat's not careful. Well, between last and second, there's only 4 wins difference, right? I got plenty of time to do that. But we'll see. But I had mentioned ALL. Oh, we have people. Brian's with us. Brian, what's going on, man?
Hey, Brian.
Well, it's the best game that they played in weeks. Dave, what's going on, man?
Hey, Dave.
It's been forever. Yep. Cowboys didn't do much this week, Dave. They didn't lose either, though. Good to have you guys with us. I had mentioned the ALL, and they are in playoffs. And, well, not for anything, Saturday over at the track, the Peterborough Timbermen hosted, so to speak, the Toronto Monarchs. And, Peterborough has been on the rise lately. And Toronto really has been going really in circles. They haven't done a whole lot in about a month and a half. They did finish the year strong and they beat Whitby. So that was should have been a sign. Toronto upset the Peterborough Timbermen 12-9 to advance to the next round. Now, what is their winning thing there? Yes, they get to face the Brampton Express next Saturday. 1 o'clock. But Sam Haynes, as they lovably used to say in Georgia, stood on his head in the Toronto Nets, only giving up 9 goals on the day. Riley Ford was a standout with 3 goals and 4 assists for the Monarchs. For Peterborough, John St. John with 2 goals and 5 assists was the big gun for Peterborough. Looking at the game, Toronto and Peterborough went back and forth throughout the first. In fact, at the end of 1, it was 3-2 for Toronto. It was actually 6-5 for Toronto at the half. The separation difference was the third, actually, in which Toronto put together a pretty strong thing. Ironically, Peterborough got and Toronto, they threw goals around to start the third, but Toronto just, with a couple of goals in the middle of that quarter, with Jason Crawford and Riley Ford back-to-back, had it at 9-6. Peterborough brought it towards 9-7, but that was about as close as they were going to get. Congratulations, Toronto, on a well-fought victory. This afternoon, we had the second of the quarterfinals, and we had Six Nations going up against Oswego. Now, Six Nations has been the most inconsistent team in the league all year, but they have all the talent in the world, and whenever they put together a full 60 minutes, are a pretty daunting task for anybody. Oswego, on the other hand, went through their ups and downs, getting into a 4-game losing streak, followed by a 4-game winning streak, followed by kind of a mediocre end of the season. Well, today, over at the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena, Six Nations outlasted the Oswego Bears 18-10 to advance to the semifinals. And yes, they get the Whitby Steelhawks next Sunday over at, I believe it's at the ILA. Nope, Toronto Rock Center. And that will be, they're both Saturday, 4 o'clock Saturday. So if you're not doing anything Saturday, head over to the Rock Athletic Center for the back-to-back games and see who's going to face each other come the finals. Looking at this game, again, Six Nations comes out storming. Oswego had a couple of goals to start. Chris Hasbert and Lane Smith. Six Nations ties it up with a pair of Colton Armitage goals. Eddie Renault gets one for the Bears, and then it is all snipers. Keelan Pilon, Thunder Hill, Andrew Vradenberg, and Nathan Fair all score. 2 of them are shorthanded goals to end the first quarter, 6-3 for the Snipers. They didn't let up in the second. Chayton King scores unassisted, and it is 7-3. Lane Smith and Shane Halliwell get a couple back for the Bears to make it 7-5. But Wes Whitlow, Colton Armitage with a couple, Jeremy Bomberty, and all of a sudden it's 11-5, and this game is getting out of hand. In the third, you had Waylon Abrams scoring for Oswego, but Jordan Goddard would answer. Josh Sanchez would get a couple back for Oswego, but Wes Whitlow would answer. Every time that Oswego seemed to get a bit of momentum, Six Nations came back and shut them down. And in fact, in the fourth quarter, took over the game, scoring the last 4 goals. Thunder Hill, Jeremy Bombery, Chayton King, and Keelan Pilon with 1:40 left to seal the 18-10 victory. So next Saturday, 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock for all the action for Arena Lacrosse League semifinals. See who's going to be in the finals, and the finals will roll the week after that. Best way to spend Easter. Some people go to their church. I go to mine. Anyways, that's Arena Lacrosse League for this week. Now, we hop into the NLL, guys. And what would you say that the word of the week is? What lead is safe?
Yeah.
How big a lead? And how late in the game do you need a lead to kind of take your foot off the gas and go, whew, that was a good one? I don't know anymore. I've seen 10-goal comebacks. I saw Rochester come back from an 8-1 deficit in the first, where it just looked like they had no interest in playing. And they came back. We saw Buffalo come back with 5 minutes left, scoring the last 5 goals to win in a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
They had them in 4 goals for the day. And all of a sudden, I'm a bit at my wit's end on this one. What do you guys think? Mike, how big a lead do we need?
I mean, it's been preached that no lead is safe. So
I don't know. Home rinks make a difference. It's not as though you're playing in front of 15,000 people and screaming fans. Six Nations Oswego are both in the area, and the Rock facility for, I guess, if that would be a children's arena, right? So, but needless to say, the Rock facility will be the general facility because it seats more, and it's what they rent. So, is what it is. Sorry, Mike, you were saying.
Yeah, I mean we've heard no lead is safe plenty over the years, but yeah, I'm as baffled as you guys are, by some of this week's results and just seeing some of the comebacks and thinking games were over and seeing that they
were.
Yeah. Shawn, what do you think? What's your take on
that? Again, it just goes to show in this league you can't take your foot off the gas even for a few minutes. We've seen it now. Like you said, I'm just baffled too. Yeah, it's unexplainable how all these comebacks happened.
It kind of takes the steam out of that, You really should just kind of hold on to the ball and just kind of kill clock because you don't want to rub the salt in the wounds. Not rubbing the salt in the wounds means they come back from a 10-goal deficit and beat you, 14-13. Then what salt's in what wound?
Yeah.
If I have a chance, I'm going to beat you 24-3 because you might come back, is my theory. So when you're trying to pace me down in the corner after I've scored an empty net goal, that's the theory. So maybe we should take that machismo and put it somewhere else. Obviously there's scenarios. Inside 15 seconds and you score an empty net goal and you're up by 11. Yeah, maybe that's a bit much. But then again, what are you doing pulling your goalie? But then again, I'm seeing
weird thing, man.
I've seen goalies being pulled with 6-goal deficits and not a lot of time left. And if you can't get, 1 goal, what makes you think you're going to get 7 to win? But again, just a thought. Let's have a look at this week's NLL. We start the NLL on Friday, and you know what? Let's start with the Ottawa-Vancouver game, just because people are tired of hearing me speak. So, Vancouver comes out on top. Am I on the wrong week, Mike?
No.
No.
I just look at this stuff. That's one of a few of these. What you might call it. Vancouver and Ottawa, 10-8. Vancouver holds on, but that's not the Vancouver team I watched last week.
No, I mean they weren't overly dominant per se. It was tied 4-4 at the half, and then they kind of put the Jets on a little bit with opening the third quarter with 3 straight to kind of get a bit more of a lead. Really, I think what it came down to is, we talked about the fourth quarter is the odd one, how sustainable is it to always have a fourth quarter comeback? And we saw it again, I think, where they only scored 2. They were outscored 3-2 in the fourth quarter.
Brian, that's number 4 on the tiebreak list. Mike will get into that with you on what's 1, 2, 3, and that's not the initial tiebreak. So that's not the be all.
Yeah.
It's a good point, Dave. You can't ever turn off a lacrosse game, that's for sure.
No.
Sorry, Sean, don't mean to interrupt.
No, I mean, with that, I mean, Vancouver, you had a hat trick from Adam Charlton Beatties. You had 2 goals from Curtis Dixon. Tyler Keegan Ball, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. For Ottawa, Rob Hellier, 2 goals, 2 assists. You had 2 goals and 5 assists from Jeff Teat. But like I said, we talk about how good Ottawa is in the fourth quarter, and I always said I don't know how sustainable that is, and I think it showed again this game where they're outscored 3-2 in the fourth, and just always having to come back from that. But at the same extent, maybe a little bit worried because like you said, Gary, Vancouver didn't kind of look like that dominant team that we come to know.
Yeah. The other thing also is Ottawa got 3 of their goals on the power play.
Yeah.
And that's frightening. That means they scored 5 goals, even strength. They're not going to win many playoff games this way.
No. I mean, that's the thing, like just looking down the score sheet too, after you have Jeff Teat with 7 points and Rob Hellier with 4, it drastically drops off from there.
Yeah.
Point wise. So really, when you got 2 guys producing again, I know we've talked about it before with this Ottawa team, that's concerning.
Definitely. Wardo, I think you're right. I have been a proponent of this for a long time, especially watching these goalies try and run, 150 yards to try and get back into their nets. Short range might make things a little bit more interesting and exciting, but it's just a little tweak of a role and putting teams on the opposite side to start. To me, it makes sense. But whatever. The other thing is also, with Ottawa, is we saw them for a while being 3-dimensional. They're back to 1-dimensional and relying on Zach Higgins having fantastic games. If he doesn't have a spectacular game, they're not even in the conversation.
That's the other thing. Is like I don't think he hang this on Zach Higgins. He actually looked pretty good.
You only give a goal in NLL. Most of the time, that's a victory.
Yeah.
If you're only scoring, like we said, 8 goals and 3 of them are on power plays, you're only getting 5 even strength goals with all that firepower. Something's up. That's not a good performance.
No.
But Vancouver, again, somebody else had mentioned they don't look as dominant as they did early on when they finally got it right. And since the Toronto game, they haven't looked like themselves. They had a good win, but even though their big win last week was tainted by a big comeback in between. So they have lapses. And if they have a one and done with Buffalo, you think Buffalo's going to have a lapse in a one and done?
No.
Not the way I've watched the last 4 games of Buffalo. They're ones who absolutely don't stop until that final horn goes. And then they go another 3 minutes after that. Win or lose, doesn't matter. Old, not old, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They just seem to find it. And I hate to say it, and it really hurts me to say it, but anybody in a one and done, I would put my money on Buffalo. 2 out of 3, maybe not. But a one and done with Matt Vincent, he is, and Dane Smith, Joe Russaterritz, Josh Byrne, et al.
Oh, yeah. No.
If you're not 100% right off the first face-off, it's going to be a long evening.
Yeah, I would not want to face them in the first round. No doubt.
No, they are probably the hottest team in the league now. Like pistol white hot. The last few weeks, and the few moves that Chugger made, as we thought he would, as we knew he would, are just perfectly attuned moves to make this team keep rolling without upsetting the chemistry. That's what a good GM does. But anyways, so we had Vancouver take the victory. Now with that victory, and we're getting to the Saskatchewan game, which they dropped to Toronto 13-9. With that loss, puts them tied in the standings for now. Granted, there's still 6 weeks to go, but that puts them tied atop the standings, which a couple of weeks ago didn't look like it was very attainable. But, and sorry, Shawn, for this, 3 out of the last 4 games Saskatchewan played, they've dropped.
Yep.
And the one win that they had was a 1-goal victory. Granted, 2 of their losses were overtime. But of all the losses, this is the one that's concerning to me, is they look not good through most of this game on Friday against Toronto. And if anything, what was concerning to me is they allowed guys like Mark Matthews and CJ Kirst to absolutely run wild in their own zone and expecting Frankie to make all the saves. And he's not going to stop some of these things coming at 110 miles an hour from an Owen Hiltz or CJ Kirst. And they can fire from anywhere with authority. Mark Matthews' first goal was just, I thought it was going to go through the net. It was blazing, and it happened in front of me. It was just incredible that kind of energy still coming. But, there was a lot of festivity and a lot of upswing because even as Shawn had mentioned during the week, of all the teams in the league, Toronto matches up probably the best with Saskatchewan, being that Young can run, has transition, and is resilient. If Nick Rose and Frank Siciliano are basically the same kind of goalie. If they're on, you're not beating him. If they're not on, it's a rough night for the defense for your own team. And Nick Rose was, I didn't know if he was exactly on to start because in the first 3.5 minutes, it was 2-0 Saskatchewan on goals by Robert Church and Brock Haley. Brock Haley, wow, great goal. Just an absolute diamond in the rough, shall we say, for the Keenan crew. Mark Matthews, as I mentioned, on the power play off an Owen Hiltz pass was an absolute howitzer. There was no way Keelan was going to get to that one. Short side, Mark Matthews 12 feet away from the net. Just not happening. Ryan Keenan comes back and makes it 3-1, but with just a couple of minutes left, Owen Hiltz converts a Challen Rogers pass, and it is 3-2. Here comes the second quarter, and all of a sudden, the Rock woke up, and the Rock, more importantly, their defense woke up, and they tied the Saskatchewan offense in knots. And coming down the other end of the floor, CJ Kirst first converts a Josh Dahlwick pass just 28 seconds in to tie the game, and then about 2 minutes after that, converts a Mark Matthews pass, and it's 4-3 Toronto. Robert Church gets one back on the power play, which was another beauty, but off a Ryan Keenan pass. But CJ Kirst completing his second quarter hat trick, finished off a Challen Rogers pass with about 4 minutes left in the quarter for a 5-4 Toronto lead. And Chris Boucher with a buzzer beater diving across the crease. He never scores ordinary goals, guys. He finished off a Mark Matthews feed, and it was 6-4 at the half for Toronto. Again, an awful lot of optimism in the arena, an awful lot of noise, because for the first time I can remember this year, there were 7,700 fans there. So it was a pretty festive spot to be there. There were some green shirts there. I did see that. One of them was mine, but I was at Toronto Rock, St. Patty's Day one. But there was a section up above there that had a lot of in it, which got quieter as the night went on. I don't know why. I guess the air stopped over in that section. But anyways, just as you thought the Rock were starting to roll, Brock Haley scores not a minute into the third quarter, and it was 6-5. Followed by Robert Church, and it was 6-6. Now, the Rock of old, that would have been the sign of things to fall down and go away. Chris Boucher comes back with another fantastic goal from in close off an Owen Hiltz pass. Isaiah Moran-Weeks back in the lineup because Dan Craig was injured, making his presence felt off a CJ Kirst pass, followed by Owen Hiltz with a low-to-low laser off Stam English pass, and it was 9-6 Toronto. Robert Church got a late goal, 9-7 heading to the fourth. Chris Boucher finished off his hat trick to start just 40 seconds into the fourth, kind of making a statement. Austin Shanks got on the board with his first of the night, about halfway through the fourth quarter. But Latrell Harris, off a Nick Rowland faceoff win, scores 19 seconds later, and it's 11-9. that kind of stops the momentum in its tracks. Josh Stallwick then got on the board, completing a Mark Matthews feed from his patented spot to the right of the goalie. And Ryan Keenan finished off a Robert Church pass, and it was 12-9. Elijah Gash sealed the deal with an empty net goal, just 18 seconds left in the game, and it was 13-9 Toronto. Looking at the game in its own right, to see this Toronto Rock team play in a complete 60 minutes, maybe 57 minutes of 60, is good news, because they're starting to believe that nobody can beat them. And Nick Rose, look, he hasn't had a bad game since he's come back. Maybe it was rest is what he needed, and to get refocused on the task at hand. Maybe Troy Holichuk playing real well in his absence got him more focused as well, because his job is going somewhere else if he's not on point. I would say that the unsung hero, of course, Robert Church had 4 goals, 2 assists, and Ryan Keenan had 2 goals and 4 assists. But the unsung hero on Saskatchewan would be Zach Mans, who did everything he could other than score. He had 5 assists on the game, and literally he was all over digging loose balls and doing all kinds of things. He had 5 loose balls on a night, 2 turnovers, 1 block. He did everything he had to do other than scoring, which was left to the other guys. Brock Haley had a great game. 6 shots on net, 2 goals. That's making the most of your opportunities.
Yeah.
I really like this squad. And, adversity is not a bad thing. You learn how to win once you're taking losing too. And if you learn how to lose and know what that feels like, you work that extra hard not to be in that circle. So it's character building is what that is. You don't want to have those first losses or those strange losses come playoff time. Get them out of the way in the season and learn to rectify and work. And, you get to do a little bit of soul searching and digging. For Toronto, we all talked about, wow, CJ Kirst didn't get a goal last week and he didn't have his favorite hockey tape on his stick and he wasn't able to tape with it. So, of course, here comes the trainer with a whole box of that favorite hockey tape. Guess what? Good superstition. 3 goals, 4 assists. Superstition that works. Josh Stallwick with a goal and 2 assists. But, down the pecking order, really, and still able to make the most of his opportunities. A goal and 2 assists, 5 shots. But, you look who's in front of him. And you have Chris Boucher. You have Mark Matthews. You have CJ Kirst. You have Owen Hills. There's so many different things. Challen Rogers. And, there's only so many things going on. Challen Rogers was one, again, who wasn't in the forefront, but 7 assists on the night. Talk about the captain doing captainist things. Leading by example. Doing whatever it takes. Owen Hills showing that he's also in the conversation for Rookie of the Year, not just CJ Kirst. 2 goals and 2 assists. Elijah Gash had an empty net goal, yes, but nobody was moving anywhere on him. And he had no problem challenging anybody he wanted, including Messenger, and didn't get any responses. So, just say, Hoss Trousers in doing loose balls and things like that, needed if necessary, but let the young gun go and do the throwdowns. Latrell Harris, he was like it was a couple of years ago, like he hasn't had any injuries, which is great to see that he's feeling that good. But he's a big boy now. So if he's coming to you in the corner, it's going to be a rough ride. And with a goal, but more importantly, really putting himself out there. 6 loose balls on a night as well, a block shot, a couple of caused turnovers. Isaiah Moran Weeks, I can't say enough about this kid. When you look at him on the floor, anyone he goes up against is like David and Goliath. But you can never measure the heart of a man by the size of his shell. And he's got the fight of a lion in him. There's at times where it looks like he's still trying to figure out where he needs to be on the floor. But even that's being fewer and further between as he's in with this offense more often. And what can I say about Mark Matthews? Whatever is needed, setting picks, just playing with that fun that he had a number of years ago in Saskatchewan and in Peterborough when they were winning. You can see that coming back. But you can see that the role has changed, being he's not the young gun and the guy. He is now the role model and the mentor and doing all the other things to help set up. His passes are, for the most part, on point. And it is just amazing to watch, whether it's behind the back, through the legs, down the street, whatever. And it just was fun. And it looks like he's having fun. And really, I come back to, it's the small moves at trade deadline that really are the things that seal it. We have the blockbusters and we change up entire dynasties and whatever. Bringing in Josh Jackson, number one, solidified the defense with a seasoned veteran guy who knew how to play this system. But he could add offense when needed, and he could be stay at home when needed. Both are solid factors of his game. And he seems to have been fitting for the entire game. Joel, listening to Randy Mearns, they're so close. And I agree. If you took away the about an 8-minute span of that first, really, for 45 of those minutes, Rochester badly outplayed Las Vegas. We'll get to that game in a few minutes, but yes, do I think they can turn it around? I do. I think there's too much talent for them to not do it, and there's too much love in the dressing room. Nobody turned on anybody. Even Hartley was the biggest cheerleader on the bench while everything was going right. And every save that Hutchcraft made after he pulled himself was, the biggest one making the most noise on the bench was Hartley. So they all care about each other. And nobody turned on anybody, even when things went south in the last few minutes of the game. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. I think they're onto something there. There is a championship pedigree in that room. It's just whether they can get it and harness it like they did at the beginning. But a few other little points here in the Rock game just before we get away from it. Nick Rowlett is another one of those moves that I was talking about. It's not one as a blockbuster, but Toronto, he won 11 of the 26 faceoffs. He did the same thing against Withers the week before, and the same thing in Vancouver against Adler. He is solidified in the center there, as well as being able to play defense, not just a Fogo. And that means a lot when they know that they have a comparable person on faceoffs that are going to win you almost 50% of the faceoffs every game. That just brings that much more intensity and that much more confidence in your transition and offense that you are going to be able to do things. And in this game, again, we talked about it, how off a faceoff Harris got a goal. Well, we're talking about that every week now.
I was going to say, in my opinion, that was maybe the turning point in that game.
I think so. I think it was huge because that was not part of the Toronto game beginning of the year with TD Erlin out. And we don't know any time frame of when he's going to be back, if he's going to be back. Really, power play is nothing to speak of. Another clean Toronto game and a clean Saskatchewan game. But just more and more, I'm noticing that Toronto's getting through these games with 1 or no penalties. Now, Saskatchewan went 1 for 2. Toronto went 1 for 1. Really not a huge factor in the result. And really, I have to give the refs a lot of credit, too, because they let them play. It wasn't a whistle every 7 minutes, every 10 seconds, every here and there. Kropman, Hiltz, these guys are seasoned, and they called a great game. So that's my 2 cents on it. Damn it. And Scagliato, he had a decent night, not a great night. Nick Rose made 41 saves on the night. Like I say, since he's come back from his injury, I think rest was almost as important as getting healed. Because since he's been back, he's looked sharp. And hopefully he can ride this sharpness in through the playoffs, whomever they face. It's going to be the Bandits. Every year it's the Bandits. Doesn't matter where you stand. It's going to be the Bandits. Get ready. Anyways, let's move on. We've been talking about this for far too long. Calgary and Colorado. Oh, sorry, no. We're still on Friday. Gosh darn. Halifax and Georgia in one of those games, Mike, that kind of makes a coach grayer and it kind of makes my betting go, what the? I thought I had the Georgia offense figured out. If you can score 7 goals, you can win. I'd be wrong.
Yeah, quite quite the affair. Georgia gets out to a big lead with an 8-goal run in the first and second quarters. They end up leading 11-4 at the half, and then they're leading by as many as 10 early in the third quarter, 14-4. And Halifax enters the fourth quarter and puts up 10 goals and rallies from that 10-goal deficit. Making things even more baffling was the first 3 of those Halifax goals cut the lead to 16. I forget what it was, 16-9, I believe, or 15-9. Caleb Benedict scores a power play goal to make it 16-9 with maybe about 7.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And I don't know where Georgia got the idea that the game was pretty much not in doubt. They decided to pull Brett Dobson with the 7-goal lead and about 7 minutes remaining. Well, Halifax scores 6 goals on 9 shots on Devlin Shanahan, and suddenly Brett Dobson's coming back into the game with a little over a minute left. He's then greeted by Stephen Keogh scoring his 4th of the night with a behind the back, between the legs shot to tie up the game at 16. So, I mean, Halifax has all the momentum. But Jordan McIntosh goes the length of the floor and scores the game winner with 18 seconds left to thoroughly demoralize the Thunderbirds. 17-16 is your final. Goals galore. We'll start with Georgia. Nolan Byrne had 4 goals on the night. Shane Jackson had 2 goals and 7 assists. Richie Connell had 2 goals and 2 assists. Lyle Thompson, a goal and 6 assists. Jordan McIntosh had a goal and 3 assists. That was the game winner. They got goals from Adam Wiedemann, Mike Triolo, Caleb Benedict, Michael Grace, Brian Cole. As Gary said earlier, that's actually the 150th win for Ed Como in his career, second all time. And for Halifax, I mean, just talk about the balloon deflating. Just an unbelievable rally in the fourth to get within reach, really, of a win and, a chance to salvage their season. But they fall now to 5-9 on the year, so they're going to need to pretty much win out and probably get some help.
Right. But not for nothing, man. Georgia, the game-winning goal with Jordan McIntosh, how many transition goals when they weren't scoring has this guy put on the board this year? He has been a solid offensive threat for those for that team all year.
Oh yeah, and then they got a number of goals in transition. Wiedemann's goal was in transition.
Exactly, Gord.
They they got a goal in transition right at the end of the third quarter, where with Michael Grace, just getting past a diving Warren Hill who was trying to get back to the empty net. That was a buzzer beater. So this is kind of one of those things where, you know, in the aftermath of it, you know, you're thinking about, you know, how horrible it must be, you know, for Halifax, you know, in that locker room to have fought so hard in that last quarter to basically tie up the game with less than a minute left and end up losing.
I also wonder because Warren Hill only made 26 saves on the day. Like, he was not feeling it. He was not having a good day. Brett Dobson, on the other hand, you know, we're talking about his goals against being under 7 for most of the year. In a couple of games now, almost in a row, I think 2 of the last 3, where he's absolutely gotten bombed.
Yeah.
It's taken a hit, and you know, and I mean, I picked Halifax in my pick'ems, and part of my reasoning was, you know, yeah, it's going to look odd that the Swarm could have a 3-game losing streak with the front runner for MVP in net, but
well, I said the same thing on my pick'ems. I also took Halifax.
The previous 3 games, they had something like just over 7 goals per game scored.
Yeah,
in their last.
I
3
have
games.
no faith in their offense, and here they come and just blow the doors off it and make me eat my words. But then their defense falls apart, and I just absolutely can't fathom. You know, this thing has been lock solid tight all year. In fact, the only reason they are up there in the conversation is because Brett Dobson and the Georgia defense have been lock solid all year. Now they're going the way of the dodo. There's no way this offense puts up these numbers week in, week out, especially in playoffs.
No, you can't. You know, and kind of taking a look at, you know, how it might look in the locker room for Halifax after the game. You know, if you're Georgia and you're in that locker room, yeah, you won the game, but what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it go so far through? So
yeah. This, I mean, they got steamrolled in the fourth quarter.
Well, the last 20 minutes of the game, they weren't even a part of it, with the exception of McIntosh being able to put one in just in time. I'm kind of wondering if they're able to make it to the end of the quarter and it goes into overtime. Does Halifax continue?
Yeah, those are their only 2 goals. I mean, it's McIntosh's game winner, Benedict on the power play, and then before that, it was the buzzer beater from Michael Grace.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if Hill's in position, now you're looking at, you probably lost the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to overtime.
That's what I'm saying. So that's frightening.
So yeah, there's got to be some. There can't be a whole lot of satisfaction in that room, other than the fact that they hit this milestone for their coach.
Mm-hmm. Now, two real big things that I have harped on all year with Georgia is Nolan Byrne and Caleb Benedict. They've come into their own. Well, I'm seeing a lot of guys who should be leading this offense kind of go south, and where'd they go?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's. I guess that would be kind of the other part of it. That the 3 games prior, you're looking at, you know, barely over 7 goals scored per game from an offense that has not won but on it. So, I mean,
as much as I like to harp on Lyle Thompson for not being in the production, he had a goal and 6 assists, so he was there. He was active.
Yeah, and Shane Jackson had 2 goals and 7 assists. So I mean, it's not like they're not producing, But
However, they did stop before the half, producing both of them. They didn't have a second half in them, either of them.
yeah, so
Yeah.
to me that's extremely concerning.
Yeah.
And this is, Jordan McIntosh said in the post game interview, kind of their next step is they want to be able to get a home playoff game. They haven't had a home playoff game since before COVID.
Right. Well, that certainly would be a plus, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
you're doing heart-stopping stuff like this,
Here's the interesting thing: as we talk about the schedule makers or soothsayers, and absolutely must be looking into crystal balls when they're putting it together. This coming week, Halifax plays Philadelphia, which keeps them on the map in my eyes. And Georgia and Ottawa, who have both had their struggles and both had their elation periods, are facing each other. So I'm thinking, if you're not doing anything this week, these are games you want to circle and say, I need to look at these. Because they're both going to be so many implications involved in both games. Philadelphia looking for that first overall pick, looking for a Spalina on their team. And Halifax still looking to try and make the playoffs. Georgia and Ottawa can easily switch positions, Ottawa winning. That's the interesting part. Is there's such a logjam and things are so even around the NLL that you have a bad week or two and you're looking up. You have a good week or two and you're looking down on some of these guys who you were chasing for most of the year. Very weird the way it's happening and working out.
Yeah, looking at the rest of Ottawa's schedule, it's not very favorable. I mean, yeah, they're home against Georgia. They're off in week 19, but then they're home against Toronto in week 20, and then they're at Halifax in week 21. And if Halifax is still fighting for a spot at that point, they have generally had that team's number, at least when they were still in New York.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on here because we still have some some major games that we got to talk about because, again, all three of these games were head scratchers. Starting with Vegas going into Rochester on the back end of the home and home. The excuses are gone for Rochester because Mearns has been there for more than a week. You're home. Everybody is healthy for the most part. And it was time to, get the thing right. Well, if there's a way to get it wrong, why not get down 6-0 in the first 6 minutes of the game? The Vegas Desert Dogs picked up where they left off last week, getting out to that 6-0 lead, and they were just having their way with the Nighthawks defense. Like, yeah, you can blame Hartley because some of those goals were soft, and he just didn't seem to be feeling it. But the Nighthawks defense were caught flat-footed a number of times on those 6 goals. They get one back. Ryan Smith on the power play. They had gotten one earlier and it was called back. And, even our fans are all over the place just going, what can we do? What can we do? So Smith gets one back and it's 6-1. But almost immediately, 15, 16 seconds later, Mitch Jones comes back and scores, and it's 7-1. Adam Poitras probably had the best game he has of a NLL career, scored, and that was his third of the quarter, and with 1:15 remaining, and it was 8-1 after 1, and it's quiet. It's quiet in Rochester. At this point, Hartley was still in the net which kind of made me go, what? You know, just didn't make sense. But Hartley got, I believe he pulled him after seven goals. And that's when he, enough. To the credit of Riley Hutchcraft, he came in a real stormy weather and real stormy waters, and he everything down. And so much so that in that second quarter, Rochester rhymed off 3 goals in a row. Lansbury, Smith, and Fields, the guys who were supposed to score. And it was 8-4 about 7 minutes into the second. And it looked like there was hope. Poitras came in, got his 4th, but then Lansbury and Zed Williams scored, and it was 9-6. This is attainable. Now, even if they went to the half at that point, it was attainable. Now, Mitch Jones scores with 13 seconds left, and it's 10-6 at the half, but nobody's going with their heads down on the Rochester side. Third quarter comes, Ryan Smith scores, it's 10-7. Kevin Crowley scores a beauty off a Kyle Killen pass, and it's now 11-7. Blaze Reardon, how important is he to this lineup? Very. Does he have a role now? Yes, he does. Something I've been saying for weeks in Philadelphia, floating around not having a role. He hit from a beautiful bounce shot from the outside, and it was 11-8. Connor Fields from in close off a Thomas McConvey feed, and it was 11-9. Brandon Goodwin gets a goal, 12-9. Connor Fields comes back a minute and a half later and off a Blaze Reardon pass, and it's 12-10 heading into the fourth. Here's the game. And this team is playing well again. And notice that we're not talking about the gaffes on the defensive end now. The defense picked it up, and when they couldn't do it, Hutchcraft was there, looking sharp. Ryan Smith scores, and it's 12-11. Connor Fields gets a power play goal, and it's tied, and the place is going nuts. But that's nothing compared to when he scores again a minute and a half later, and it's now 13-12 for Rochester. Thinking, wow, miracle of miracles. Here comes the comeback, and we're going to be talking about all weekend. A la Halifax. Now, one of the things that Mernsey had mentioned was that they expended so much energy to get to where they were to be in the lead by a goal that they just didn't have enough in the tank to finish the game. Poitras, he comes back with his 5th of the night, and it's tied. With 5.5 minutes left in this game, it was tied. And this is going back and forth, end to end. A track meet had happened. But, as luck has it, Kyle Killen scores. Mitch Jones scores on the power play with under 3 minutes to go, and it's 15-13. Chris Kluche, less than a minute later, makes it 16-13. And then Jones again, with just 16 seconds left, 17-13 into an empty net. And that is the way the game finishes. Now, does Rochester hold their heads down for having a terrible start, or do they hold their heads up for having really solid 2.5 quarters in this game to come back from an absolutely insurmountable difference? And it would be number 2. Nobody on the bench turned on each other. Nobody on the bench looked like they weren't interested in this comeback. That's the little things that you have to take a look at, whether this team is going to strive forward or do they have to do things differently. I asked Mernsey a question about character, and here's his answer.
About character a lot. I thought that we showed a whole lot of character in this game. Down 8-1, easily could have mailed the rest of it in, but they fought and fought and fought. Talk about how the character is building now that you're at the helm here.
Yeah, it was. You're right. Like you can kind of mail those things in and kind of go, "Woe is me," and hey, is the season done? And hey, there's all this kind of chaos that maybe is kind of happening, and but it's when you're living it, and I'm kind of going through it. Like the first game you kind of seen some glimpses of it, but you know it because you've seen it in video, right, from the first beginning of the year. Like it's all there, but now you're kind of experiencing it, and just for our guys to kind of like just dig in and say no, like we're gonna get this done, like we're gonna come back, and the belief, and Danny Coates is the captain, and he's sparking it on the bench, like continue to believe, continue to get the loose balls, and you kind of feel it, right? And so to watch that group of guys really come together, and here's the thing, at the end of the game, and it didn't go our way, and they got on run, they were still together. And so that's important to me, because, hey, you win, that's easy. When you lose, not so easy. But at the end of the game, like, they were still together. There's things that we still got to figure out, but, like, they were still together as a team. And I feel like the locker room's a great locker room. And, we're going to continue to, kind of build. We're going to build, and we're going to take those really good points and try to move this thing forward to Oshawa.
Now, if anybody knows Barnesy, none of those words are just, words. He truly believes it, and he has the players believing it. Our press conference was probably 20 minutes late because he had a meeting with the team after the game, and they call it decompression, but I think it was more about bolstering the things they did well after the calamity of the first quarter. And that's the kind of man he is. And that's the one he's always been as a coach, as a player. And he keeps talking about that's Rochester ball, the way we did the second quarter, third quarter, and just keep it. And, it was a 9-minute press conference that he had, which is unheard of. If you can get 4 minutes out of most of these guys, you're lucky. But he went on, and it's up on our YouTube page, it's up on our Facebook page as well. It's also in my recap of this game. Him. Also, an interesting one is we talked with Nathan Kapp, who was the faceoff guy for Rochester, and he went 26 of 35. He went 26 of 35 against Hammer Jackson. Mind you, Hammer Jackson got hurt, and he was out, but still, for the majority of it, he was on fire on the faceoffs, and that's a definite plus. And a soft-spoken kid. Ryan Lansbury was also in the press conference talking about team and talking about comebacks and things like that. You look at it, and again, I'm always big about the guys who need to score. Well, Connor Fields had 5 goals, 3 assists. Ryan Lansbury had 2 goals, 6 assists. Ryan Smith had 4 goals and an assist. Those are the guys that need to score, and that's why the numbers were up. They just plain had to exert so much energy to try and get back in it that it just didn't happen. Now, the big turning point in this game was when Rochester took the lead. Alex Bouquet started this game like he started last week, but they changed goalies and put Landon Kells in, which seemed to reinvigorate the Desert Dogs. And they took over for the last part of that game. It's all about mind over matter, eh? All the little chess moves that coaches make and why. And Sean Williams made a great move at that point, changing it up. I talked with Sean briefly at the end of the buses. His character. More of a facilitator, goal, 6 assists. Chris Kluche, in the beginning, really was a big portion of this. 3 goals. Adam Poitras, as mentioned before, probably his best game as an NLLer, 5 goals, 3 assists. Tyson Bell, strong game on D. I don't believe he had a penalty. Interesting. I don't think he's had a penalty since he come to Vegas. Or 2 minutes at most. From a guy who was setting penalty minute records over in Halifax. That's interesting. Kyle Killen only had a goal, but it was the most important one. That was the tie-breaking one. And he had a solid game. In fact, he was one of my 3-star picks up in the booth. But you take a look, Mitch Jones, 4 goals, 5 assists. Where have we seen numbers like that before? Hello, Philadelphia. You remember that? How about Vancouver? Do you remember that? He's got reinvigorated in this. So this is another team that is it ready yet? No. Is it getting close? Yes. Can they upset somebody in a one and done? If they can get into eighth, and they're pretty close. Don't forget, we mentioned Chase Fraser. He's not in the lineup yet, but he's looking better and better every video I see from him. And talking with him, he's raring to go.
I mean, I believe they're in 8th place right now.
Yeah.
So
Right. There you go.
and they have the benefit, like Rochester, though maybe not so much Rochester. They still have 5 games to play. Both those teams.
Right.
Everyone else has
Yep.
4 or less. The reason I mentioned Rochester might have a more difficult road, and they're going to need to draw on this, the character that they've built up is 4 of their last 5 games are on the road. And it's actually the next 4. They're at Oshawa, then at Halifax, then at Buffalo, who they beat earlier in the season, but how things
Different
have
Buffalo team
Yeah,
now.
things have changed. Yeah.
That's a different Buffalo team.
and then one.
But I would even go further, is to say that Oshawa team is a different Oshawa team. That's not going to be a cakewalk next week. Oshawa will be ready for them, especially with a bye week this week.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then in week 21, they finished with a home and home with Georgia. So,
well, if they can score,
Yeah.
it's a bit of an uphill climb, for sure.
Yeah. But it's funny, eh? Listen, if we could bring back the show from, say, 2 months ago and talking about Rochester and put that beside what we're talking about tonight, it would be night and day
Yeah.
what we're talking about. The thing, and it's funny, and the thing we're talking about before was the saving grace was the play of Hartley. Well, I think Hartley's been pulled in every game in the last month.
That's probably the one concern right now is
How is he doing?
Hartley's play. Yeah.
And even that, how is his mental stature? Because he's playing like he's afraid of the ball, which is not his game. He's the most aggressive guy out there. And I hate to bring it up, since that Vancouver game, he hasn't been the same. And that's when the team turned. If there was a turning point, and even the guys in the in the office, talking with them yesterday there, and it's interesting because you see Mike Hazen's credential here, and changing things from asterisk to not asterisk and things like that in the record books there, and it's like, yeah, what happened?
I thought maybe throw it out there. I'm sorry, I just throw it out there. Do you look at starting Hutchcraft?
I said that yesterday. Is he certainly looked like a starter to me, the way he was playing. But is there a different set of pressure being the guy than being the relief? His entire NLL career, with the exception of when Hartley got hurt, he's been number 2. But if I go further back, he was the guy in Mimico if they were going to win a championship or a Minto Cup. He was the guy. And when he was on, nobody was beating him, even in junior. Does he have that same fire? I saw it last night. But he's not that entirely night and day mentalities when it's Hutchcraft or Hartley. 2 entirely opposite personalities when it comes in the net. Does that stop the opposition? You're ready for Hartley and his aggressive play, and then you get Hutchcraft and his cerebral play and stay-at-home play. Did that mess up the Desert Dogs and their shooting for what they were ready and practiced for? Kind of like what Vegas did to them, to Rochester last week when they started Bouquet instead of Kells, and you had your game plan set for that. Did it mess them up enough? Again, mind games.
Yep.
To mess up the shooters to not have things work right. It only takes a little bit to make everything go, off kilter. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Just remember, it works the other way. I hate to keep going back to that game like you do, but they were 4-2 going into that first Vancouver game.
Yep.
Now they're 5-8.
Mm-hmm. And the one win was a 1-goal win.
Yeah.
Yep. In overtime.
Overtime.
Saskatchewan.
That's one of all things too, right?
Things, yeah.
Just things that make you go, nothing makes sense. But I give it this, having Mernsey at the helm, at least you have somebody who is really engaged, who loves the game, who teaches the game, who has done it at the college level for so many years. He's been part of Team Canada. He's been part of a lot of the organizations, and not only knows the game, but can explain the game. So when we have practices, he is going to go through things that probably they've never seen before. And as they get to know each other, players and coach and players, then this is going to be a much stronger relationship. Like, you can already see that his enthusiasm is rubbing off on the team. And having a guy like Dan Coates as your captain is a major plus as well, who has seen it all and is able to steady things when it's not quite right. Now, one of the scratches was Graydon Hogg, and I'm thinking he would have been a real good fit into this lineup yesterday. So I'm wondering if they'll use him a little bit more, because I really like his game too. But we'll see. We'll see. Let's keep moving forward here. 2 more games to look at: Colorado and Calgary. Now, Colorado is supposed to be one of these top teams, right? They have been for a while now.
Yeah.
What's happened? Since that Toronto game, they haven't looked the same. And even in this game where it looked like they were, ready to rock, nobody told Calgary this. And we almost had another upset. God, I love this league. Nothing is.
I keep saying that Calgary team, you can't sleep on their record. They're better than that record shows. You cannot sleep on them.
Agreed.
Yeah,
absolutely agreed. They're so much talent and young, with really good coaching all the way down the line.
Like, it's going to come for them. Maybe not this year, but it'll come for them.
Oh, yes. And I'm really impressed overall, though he didn't have the greatest of games, with Aiden Walsh. I think he's taken a career that could have gone and you'd be a backup goalie somewhere. And he's put his stamp on, no, I'm a starter. And he's earned that role there. But, talk to me. Tell me about this game.
Yeah, Calgary falling just short. They got in a little bit of trouble, penalty trouble, kind of early in the first half. They had built up a lead, and then Andrew Q takes that lead right away with a natural hat trick in the second quarter. But Calgary kept on kind of clawing their way back into this game. I think they even had it tied. They tied at 8-8 actually on a penalty shot in the third quarter. Tyler Pace converted, but more power play goals. Jack Hanna, Andrew Q, Will Malcolm. Powered the Mammoth to a 14-12 win. Q had a sock trick, the last of which was an empty netter with 1 second left to put the game away. But Jack Hanna, 3 goals, 3 assists. Will Malcolm, 3 goals, 3 assists. Braden Saris had 2 and 2. So, they're getting the production out of the guys that they're supposed to be, for sure.
I absolutely love Brandon Maillet's game.
Yeah.
I absolutely love his game. I think that he is an absolute spark plug. Not the biggest guy out there, but an absolute spark plug every time he's out on the floor.
Yeah, and I think great dynamic too with Tanner Cook. You've got small, shifty guy, and a big body that can crash inside. Maybe crash a little too much inside.
Yeah.
Kind of steamroll Dylan Ward on more than one occasion, it seemed, the other night. But Maya ended up with 2 goals, 2 assists. Cook had 2 goals, 3 assists. Pace led the way. He had 5 goals and 4 assists, including that penalty shot conversion. They got goals from Noah Manning, Carter Cook, and Kyle Pepper. Walsh did have 35 saves in the loss. And I tend to agree with Shawn. I mean, this record definitely doesn't reflect kind of how good they've been, really, and how difficult they've been as an opponent in majority of their games.
Right. Here's a question for you, Mike. Jacob Dunbar didn't play. If he's in the lineup, do you have a better chance of winning?
I don't have a good answer for that.
I've seen him on both ends. I've seen him where he's been dominant, and I've seen him where he's just been, a table and chair in the corner. And I can't put my finger on it. Which one came over to Calgary? The one who was in San Diego or the one who was in Ottawa?
I mean, they did go lefty heavy in the game with, Cook and Maillet,
right.
Riley Lowen and Matthew Gauthier. And, maybe that was predicated on, kind of hoping that Gauthier would heat up, since he's had a really difficult season. I mean, he's only got,
that's an understatement.
2 or 3 goals, I think, on the year. And I mean, he didn't
none
get his
of
first
them
goal
that
until a couple of weeks ago of the season, and it's unfortunate. He's had kind of one of the worst trajectories, if you will, since the Panther City dispersal draft, unfortunately for him.
Yeah,
and it's to me it's
almost been a curse, eh? For most of these guys, that's been a curse away from the magic of Panther City, and most of these guys who were doing terrific have fallen flat.
Yeah. I mean,
on the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, you can definitely.
Picking it up now.
I would
but
say
literally, you can go down that lineup and say, man, he's been a disappointment. He's been a disappointment. Man, he's not the same as when he was there. You take a look at guys like Phil Caputo, who's now in his 3rd team since. You take a look at someone like Matthew Gauthier, who is on the rise. You look at Medeiros, who was setting records in transition and now is invisible. He's kind of lost in the shuffle.
I was going to say one other exception was Matt Hossack, because he won Defender of the Year pretty much the year after.
Right.
So,
yeah. But overall, and then take a look at goalies.
Yeah. McLeod's bounced around to a couple of teams already.
Yeah.
So is there a curse with this thing? Frighteningly enough.
I mean, I hope not. For the mistake of these guys.
Little Danhausen for all you wrestling fans, eh? You are cursed. But I can't put my finger on it. But like I say, the Jacob Dunbar, who was in San Diego 2 teams ago, was the up and comer, and I thought he was going to be the next one in San Diego. I was shocked when he went to Ottawa. He looked good to start in Ottawa, and then he disappeared. Now he's over in Calgary trying to recreate what he had in San Diego, and he's not even in a lineup. So I wonder about that.
First goal in Black Bears history. Just a reminder.
I can't put my my finger on. But again, you're talking about Tyler Pace, Tanner Cook, and they're doing what they're supposed to. Noah Manning, a little bit off pace of what he's been doing, but still looking pretty sharp.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe the one I'll point out is Hayden Dixon. I mean, he only had 2 assists, and that's a guy I think you're looking to step up a little bit more. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Manning, you can, Manning, you can excuse because, he is a rookie.
Yeah.
Dixon, I feel like you can. I mean, this is a guy who led the WLA in scoring last summer.
The other one is Kyle Pepper. And granted, he had a goal, but I see him doing a whole lot more in the next year or two. I think he's going to come to the forefront. I think he is that diamond in the rough that we like to talk about. That kind of goes under the radar until he's in your face. And he's been pretty steady in any game that he's been in this year that makes an impact. I wouldn't go so far as to say an impact player, but in the games that he played, he has made an impact, and this was no different. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I still am on the Calgary bandwagon on what I see here, and it's on the up, not on the down. And you took a team that is bona fide in Colorado with all the scoring power. And yeah, they got their goals, but they didn't walk all over you.
Yeah. Again, how many 2-goal losses, 1 goal, 2 low goal losses are we talking with Cal here, right? Like,
it's true. And
another
I would
one.
take
Yeah.
Yeah. It may not be one in the standings or one in the score sheet, but I take this as a moral victory that you hung in with the bests. And
with a really, really young team, yeah.
And
hey, flip 50% of those results, and they're probably the 8th seed right now.
No, yeah, 100%, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I always look at this stat. Do we think Tanner Cook's shooting too much? He had 17 shots on net. He had 2 goals.
I mean, he could have just
9, 5 goals.
It just, I don't know. We seem to be. This seems to be coming up a lot. We've mentioned it. We've mentioned it a lot with Halifax, with Randy Stotts. We've mentioned it a lot with Buffalo, with Dane Smith.
Don't you find Halifax to be more dangerous with, I hate to say it, with Stotts out? More guys are involved.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it. I mean,
but if you know the question, aren't you defending towards putting 2 guys to his side? Or pressing so it's late in the clock? So that shot's where the goalie wants it, or where you want it from outside the transition line, or the restraining line, sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
17 is a lot of shots.
It is. I'm just looking at the score sheet too, but you did. Maya had 11. Dixon had 11. Pace had 9. So I mean, although 17's a lot, it did get spread around a bit.
You had 60 shots on the night. He had 17. That is more. That's almost a third of the shots.
I was going to bring up a team like Oshawa where you don't seem to have this disparity yet. Look where they are. I mean, they're dead even with Calgary in the win-loss column.
They've also had some hard luck too. But I would put an offense that has 7 guys shooting and scoring than having 1 guy take 1/3 of the shots. Just so the teams that you're facing have to work at covering. I automatically put 2 guys on Cook.
I'll agree with that all day.
Yeah.
You'd rather have.
I double team him all day, and then he's 1 guy I don't have to worry about, and he's taking 1/3 of the shots. I'll take that every single game. Every single time you want to put that at me. I am working my slides to absolutely make him a non-factor. And they pretty much did that. And 2 goals. That's 15 different possessions that ended in his shot that didn't go anywhere. That's the ones that hit the net. So just putting it out there. I think one of the things they have to do is spread it around a little bit more, which is also why you see Gauthier with 1 goal or no goals. Because how many times are you going to see the ball? If the be-all, end-all to the play is Pace gets and shoots. Well, just a thought. Just on how it's run right now. I don't know if that's how it's blueprinted, but that's how it's finishing. And it hasn't worked. You know, say we talked about Halifax. When Stotts is in there taking all those shots, we're talking about all these losses. And are we talking that he shoots too much? And it's easy to guard, especially if you're shooting from the same place like Stotts is. And if you know it's going to be swung over that way, you're going to be a little bit more apt. Now, if you have that in somebody's mind and then you start going the other way and things start dropping, yeah, I see the point. But if you're going to keep going and doing the same thing and it's not working, then I have a bit of an issue. Just a thought. All right, let's move on. We have the game that I just can't get my head around here. We have San Diego ready to pretty much put 2 points in the column, and Buffalo goes, wait, there's still 5 minutes, right? That's plenty of time to score 6 goals.
Oh yeah. This is again. You take your foot off the gas, especially against a team like Buffalo. Anything can happen. I mean, Buffalo came out first. Token Atticoke scored on the power play, but Ben McIntosh came with 2 goals right off the start, and it's 2-1 San Diego after 1. Kyle Buchanan on the power play starts it off in the second quarter, tied up. But then Westberg with the pair, and San Diego's up 4-2. A low-scoring affair. Third, Ari Steinhaus makes it 5-2. Zach Courier 6-2. Dane Smith on the power play with about 4.5 left, and it's 6-3. Zach Courier again with just over 2 minutes left, and it's 7-3 San Diego, and things are looking pretty good, especially in a low-scoring game like this. Josh Byrne, just over 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, makes it 7-4. Ben McIntosh scores to make it 8-4 at 7:36 left on the clock. And like you said, Gary, it looks like, San Diego is about to put 2 points in the standings. And then Joe Resiteritz, with just under 5.5 left, makes it 5-8. Clay Scanlon with 2:46 left, and it's 8-6. Token Atticoke with just over a minute left, and it's 8-7. And then with 44 seconds left, Dane Smith off a Josh Byrne feed. And suddenly we're tied 8-8 and heading into overtime. Then with just under 4 minutes left, or into overtime, who else? Dane Smith with in transition of all things. Yeah. And Buffalo wins this one in what they probably really should have had no business winning, 9-8 in overtime.
Mike, here's a question for you. Let's get rid of the last 5 minutes of the game, 6 minutes of the game. It's 8-4. Every time Buffalo and San Diego seem to face each other, we have an under 10 goal game. What gives with these two teams, you think?
Tough defenses on both
They're
sides.
both powerful teams. Their defense aren't that great, then I'd be worried facing any of these guys in the playoffs.
Defense is strong, goaltending, yeah.
Well, goaltending goes with it. I think that Origlieri doesn't get the credit he deserves, honestly. Now, granted, it fell apart with 5 minutes left, but you coming out of three periods and you've given up 3 goals. I think we have to start talking about him maybe in the upper echelon of goaltending as opposed to, he's in the net. Because I don't see that defense being that strong. But yet for 45 minutes, almost 55 minutes, they held the Bandits completely at bay. And then we always expect a run. This time it happened to come at the end of the game. Usually it happens at the beginning of the third. But the thing that's puzzling me, and maybe Shawn, you can answer this for me, is you're down, you're up by a goal. You're inside a minute. Who is the one person on the floor that you really want to pay attention to?
Yeah, Dane Smith. Yeah.
I'm sure the rest of Terrace out on the floor as well as Byrne as well. And, you probably have Nanico, causing problems in front as well. But still.
And you just know that chemistry. You just know that, sorry, Gary, you just know that chemistry too, that you know that Josh Byrne has with Smith. Like you think you'd be watching for that Byrne to Smith pass. Like
I would even go so far as to say I would take a penalty to take him off.
Yeah.
Just enough to throw, we're not talking about having to kill 2 minutes. You're talking about having to kill 45 seconds. Right? Just to take things and throw them off kilter a bit and get them reestablished again. But it would take one of them out of the play if you don't get called. Say feast or famine kind of move, but the other way it didn't work. Just a thought. Again, just throwing stuff out there to see reactions and ideas, because there's no excuse for a team that is good and has held them for 55 minutes to all of a sudden crumble with 4 goals.
Yeah.
In 5 minutes. 2 within 30 seconds of one another, the 2 that mattered. That hurts. Those are the ones you stay up nights going, what the hell just happened?
I mean, another, deflating loss. You have to think about San Diego. Like you said, what the hell just happened? Like,
and San Diego's biggest thing, penalties.
Yeah.
Buffalo only went 3 for 7 on the power play, but 3 of those goals were on the power play. You know that they're dangerous. What are you taking what are you playing like that for? When you're a good enough team not to take these penalties. And if they're calling on you all year, shouldn't by, game 13, that they're calling you for it. Don't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and this loss has them outside the playoff window right now.
Yep. That was the biggest issue at all.
With 4 games to play, and 2 of those 4 games are against the team that just jumped right in front of them in Las Vegas.
Who looks dangerous.
In the last weekend of the season.
Right. They also have to face Toronto, who's on the upswing as well.
Yeah.
Not easy for San Diego to stay. Now they're out of the playoff picture. It's going to be very difficult for them to get into the playoff picture, I think. 3 of those games right away are real tough.
And so is the 4th one. It's at Georgia.
Doesn't get easier, does it?
No.
Now, what do we think? Does Patty Merrill stick around if they don't make the playoffs? There's already been rumblings.
Well, I mean, I've kind of sort of made a take on it previously. I mean, I think this mid-season coaching change that happened in Rochester, now has the potential to create a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
Where you could see Pat Merrill, you could see Micah Kersey, you could see Glenn Clark, possibly all. I think
the difference is, Mike, sorry. The difference is I still see the teams playing for a Kersey, and I still see the teams playing for Clark. I don't see this happening in San Diego. There's been a couple of losses there that we've sat there and gone, what in the heck? How did that happen? And it shouldn't have been. And some of the different ideas and, when to challenge, when not to challenge, when to do this, and there's been question marks on it. And I'm never, we have a number of them now, but I'm never a big proponent of coach and GM being the same guy. And reason is this, and it may sound stupid, but you have one guy, the coach, telling your player, "You're the best guy. I need you. I can't have do this lineup without you." And then you put the other hat on and go, "Man, you're not that good, man. I can't pay you that kind of money." What? How do you believe that?
Yeah, I think it takes a special person to do both jobs. I think there's very few that can and a
And do
lot
it
that
well.
can't.
Do it well.
And yeah, and I just with Patrick Merrill, I kind of look at the history too on the years where San Diego really wasn't contender yet they still could never get over that hump, and now they're kind of on the downswing. And I think you gotta maybe look at that history a little bit too, and whether you want to keep them on or whether it's time to make a change.
Well, again, but the difference is here you're not replacing one guy; you're replacing two jobs.
Yeah.
Unless he does the Paul Day and steps away from coaching to strictly spend his time as GM. But Merrill as a coach, I remember his days at Six Nations. He's a great coach.
Yeah, I mean, I'm torn on this because it's a good point that maybe you shouldn't have the same person be coach and GM, but when you look at the whole league, about half of the teams have that situation,
Right.
where the head coach is the GM.
I think Saskatchewan's a little different because you have two who are head coaches. So one, you can play good cop, bad cop, really. So it doesn't have to fall. Playing both.
Like I said, it just takes a special person because even those years when it was just Derek Keenan and he was doing both, I mean, they were championship teams. I just, he's just built differently.
Yeah.
It takes a different person to be able to do both jobs.
Now, I'm a bit remiss, too. With Colorado's victory, they've clinched also a playoff spot. So.
Yeah, so I mean, 3 of the 8 spots are already.
Already spoken for.
Yeah.
And then you look at the next two, Toronto and Georgia are tied 9-5. Georgia holds a tiebreak with the victory, the overtime victory. Has to come down to that too, right?
Yeah.
And then Buffalo is right behind Toronto now at 8-6.
Well, let's think about first place because if
Buffalo plays Colorado if the playoffs started tomorrow. Wouldn't that be interesting?
Yeah.
Have we ever seen that matchup before?
Yeah, and should probably also be noted, should the Bandits end up in a three-way tie with Georgia and Toronto, they would get the higher seeding because they beat Georgia and they beat Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say for first place too, even though Vancouver and Saskatchewan tied, if it continues like that, Saskatchewan would have that tiebreaker again because of an overtime win.
Yep.
Well, here comes the big one because, again, hello, Mr. Schedule Maker. You have Buffalo playing Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, we've talked about, 3 out of 4 have been losses recently. They can't take another loss. Not for their own psyche, anyways. Not for standing, not for where they're going to wind up, but just for psyche. That's just not a good thing. And I think they come out hellfire brimstone. And they're too good a team to lose 3 dropping 4 out of 5 at this point of the season, anyway. But Buffalo has won 4 in a row now.
Yep.
Yeah, they're white hot.
But come back in Saskatchewan's undefeated at home.
Yep,
Yeah,
undefeated at home.
right?
And let's not forget that 2 of those 3 losses that they've had in their last 4 games were overtime.
Right.
On the same weekend on a doubleheader.
One was against
Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Playing 7 games, and they played 7 games in 3 days. Or sorry, 3 games in 7 days. My apologies.
Right. One was against Buffalo too, right? So
yeah,
they need to win just for down the road a bit, maybe. Who knows what's going to happen here? Buffalo wins out, and all of a sudden they're in the talk in the top 3, right? So let's nip that one in the bud, shall we?
Actually, that's interesting because should Saskatchewan win, I think that that would pretty much keep Buffalo from being able to climb up to the top seed. at that point.
Yeah, I think it would. Yeah.
Now, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about Buffalo being sellers and not making the playoffs, and now we're talking about if they win, they won't be the number 1 seed. Huh? If that's not Bizarro Land, I don't know what is.
Without number 1 seed, like Mike pointed out, it's very real. They could be the number 4 seed at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And who does that put them against? Yes, Toronto. Doesn't matter when. Doesn't matter
Just
how.
what you need. Eh?
Doesn't matter when. Doesn't matter how. If nothing else, that's a psychological loss, right?
Yeah, and that's going to be now that you look at it, I'm looking at the next 2 weeks, and in a way, it's almost like a double-edged sword for Saskatchewan and Vancouver, because those are Buffalo's next 2 opponents. So let's say, hypothetically, Buffalo drops both those games. Now they're 8-8, right? But now you're looking at, that's probably a lower seed, like a 7 or an 8 seed, meaning their first round opponent is going to be Saskatchewan or
Vancouver.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's funny how Buffalo is the one denominator that always comes into all of our, well, then you will be playing Buffalo. This is the year they're going to be over here. No, they're right back here again. Front and center in your face. And that's a testament to Tavares. That's a testament to Vince. That's a testament to Eric Vince. That's a testament to Dietrich Chugger in both roles to keep this team on point, because it could have been real easy for them to fall off. We're talking about character earlier in the year, and then some of the injuries they've sustained. Nick Weiss, Ian McKay, those are big injuries.
That's bizarre, because Buffalo could really hold the power of first place, because, if Saskatchewan loses, Vancouver wins, or vice versa, that could be the difference.
Yeah, very much so. Just the way it works out. Toronto, on the other hand, plays Philadelphia and then San Diego in the next 2 weeks. In my eyes, both very winnable games. Where does that put Toronto? That puts them, depending on how Colorado fares, I could put Toronto third. Does that give them the gift of Buffalo if they don't win both against Saskatchewan and Vancouver? Let's say it's a 50-50 split.
It might, but if you're Toronto, do you even want to be hosting Buffalo? especially after
it's no better at home than it is away, right?
Yeah.
If home is away, home is an away game when it's Buffalo.
Yeah, they've had their number.
And if it's in the playoffs, don't you think that it's going to be 2/3 fans in there? It takes less time for them to get to the game than it does for me to get to the game. Being in Hamilton. Won't that be interesting? Or having 19,000 people to keep it. Interesting. So it's to keep I don't know. This gets more and more interesting the more we delve into it. Of who's doing what. I was just looking at them finishing 7th and, have Vancouver, and it's like, if there's a team that can beat them, I would rest my laurels on Vancouver. Del Bianco coming up big in a one and done.
Yeah.
Having a Dixon as well as a Ball to be the matchup against Smith and Byrne. Having a Charlene Beatties in there. And that would be the rest of Turrets. And the matchups would be interesting. As well as 2 bruising defenses on either side. That would be worth the price.
And don't forget that'll be their third. If they meet in the playoffs, that'll be their third meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
Only this time the hats would be reversed, I think. I think Vancouver would be the favorite and Buffalo would be the dog. Whereas the first two, it's been the other way around. And more expectation on Vancouver to be the ones to knock them off. But getting a little ahead of ourselves. Whatever game we haven't talked about this week, it's coming up. Is there any? Halifax, Philadelphia, Georgia, Ottawa, Rochester, Oshawa, Buffalo, Saskatchewan, Calgary, Vegas, and then the Sunday afternoon tilt between Toronto and Philadelphia. All very meaningful games to at least one of the teams involved, if not both. And a lot of them are teams that are head-to-head that need to, leapfrog one another. Very interesting for a week 18 of a 21-week season. That it comes down to every single game matters. There's no throwaways in this. Wow. Hope we get that lucky with PLL in the summer. Hope we get that lucky with MSL or WLA in the summer. Or OSL for that matter. But, it's since we've gone to non-conference, did any of you guys think it was going to be this intense when it's just the top 8 that make it? Mike, what do you think?
I didn't think so, but I'm grateful that they've done it.
Shawn, what do you think?
I want to say kind of yes and no. I figure it was going to be a bit more tighter because, as you said, you're now amalgamating the conferences. But this tight and this competitive, I didn't see that.
I didn't see it like this either, but you knew that there wasn't going to be anybody sliding in with a losing record and not earning their way into a spot when a team with a much better record was going to sit at home. So I love it that way. But the math involved in it when you were out of the playoffs and have to leapfrog 3 teams, but yet we're watching it this year. It's supposed to be difficult, and we're watching every week. It's like they just took it and it's like an etch-a-sketch, and we start again. That's crazy in my eyes. But again, when I deal with it as fans, we win. Doesn't matter who you support. You want good lacrosse, right? And we win.
Right.
Yeah.
How many games have we watched now? It's not just a one-off this week where we've seen big deficits and all of a sudden things are really tight and whoop, we have a winner we didn't expect. Or somebody came out of nowhere and wow, where'd that come from? Or have ridden a hot hand like Buffalo. Remember, we all but wrote them off before that two-game weekend where they won both. And all of a sudden, from that point on, Buffalo has now been in our conversation. They could be 4-peaters. Nobody saw that.
I remember us talking before the season about, this Rochester lineup and that they were going to be cup contenders.
Yep.
They're near the bottom of the standings right now.
Yep. Or Colorado after Hannah came in. And they've struggled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been winning lately, and clinched a spot, but by no means has it been pretty. And as soon as they start facing upper echelon only, not bottom, that changes too, right?
Yeah, and going back to Shawn's point, I mean, I'll double up on the Rochester thing. I don't think anyone had a space on their bingo card saying both Rochester and Halifax missed the playoffs.
No, we didn't.
No, in fact, I thought both of them would be contenders.
Yeah.
Let alone what they've both given up and moved out and gotten rid of to be where they are at this point of the season now. Nobody saw that as them being sellers per se. Ironically, Rochester wasn't a seller; they were a buyer. And bringing Blaze home, Rochester guy. That's part of the Philadelphia sell-off, though. Sending guys home. Rusty Terrence, a Buffalo guy, off he went to Buffalo. But interesting. It's going to be one hell of a ride over the next few weeks to see where everything goes. But let's leave it there for this week. Just a reminder to everybody, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitter, X, we're on Instagram, we are on Thread, we are on YouTube, as well as on www.streampunkentertainment.com. Please visit us, especially on our flagship on Facebook, 3, 4, 5 times a day, as the news is always changing, and all of us have our fingers on the pulse of the situation, having the news up to date and accurate for you day in, day out, time in, time out. And it's a great privilege and our pleasure to give you that from all of us. That brings us to last words. Mike, let's start with you this week. Last words.
Yeah, I would caution anyone watching these games, don't take any of them for granted. Even the Philadelphia doubleheader. I mean, as much as they're in last place, they're still not mathematically eliminated. And you got a lot of young guys playing for jobs. So
it's interesting. Nobody's really thought about Philadelphia or in Oshawa. It's still in contention. Put together a strong thing, and they all have enough talent to do it. That's a really great point. Shawn, last words to you.
Yeah, more or less kind of the same. We're almost in that final stretch now. Quite a few teams only have 3 games left now. So, as Mike kind of put it there, every game counts now. It really does for even teams that are still fighting for playoff positions, right up from the top, wanting to get the home field advantage. These games are going to count.
Absolutely. And I'm at this thing of just the schedule being just the way it is amazing to me. That there is this much interest and this much need of what's going on, that these teams are facing each other with this much on the line at this point in the season. It just boggles my mind that when they're making these schedules, months and months ago, come week 18, every game matters. Come week 19, even more so, the way things are playing out. The parity in the league, even teams that have faltered out the gate, is so strong that anybody can win on any week. And we're seeing it. But we come back to that thing. What lead is big enough that you can actually go, okay, I'm up by 14. Maybe I can take my foot off the... No. Doesn't seem to matter anymore, does it? Anybody can come back from anything and put together a strong quarter. And it comes out of nowhere. Boggles the mind. Would you think that Georgia would give up a 10-goal quarter with that defense and goaltending? No, it would never come to my thought. Vegas, we've talked about, they've had a little trouble with defense, a little bit more to it, but still 8-1 in the first, and you basically have your foot on the throat. And barring a miracle, that's not going to be a close game. Well, how many reincarnations am I going to watch in one weekend, let alone, in a season? We saw that in 4 games out of 6 this weekend. That's incredible. Just the parity shows me just, how good, everything comes. Wait till we see this draft upcoming and see how they fit into the teams that are taking them, and see a lower team like in Philadelphia, if they can work with the draft correctly and elevate. Calgary, is it the one extra piece that they need to elevate? Oshawa, they already have a strong team, but with the right players, does it bring them elevation? What about the teams on top? Where do they put them? That's been Buffalo's problem for years. Is you get decent draft picks, but where are you going to put them? You're not going to break up your dynasty or your chemistry. And then, if you're drafted to Buffalo, are you elated or are you sad because you may not be able to crack a lineup for 4 years? Those are your 4 good years that you just came out of junior. Right? The thought process on this. Let's say Saskatchewan drafts somewhere high in this draft. Where are they putting them? It's already hard to crack the lineup.
Yeah.
You got two guys sitting in a press box just drooling at every game. Go, can I play, coach? Can I play? Can I play, coach?
You've got guys on that team who probably could be starting anywhere else or sitting in the press
Absolutely.
box. Like a guy like a Clark Walter, yeah.
Yep. You know, I've said that with Buffalo for years. You know, you look at the talent up in the press box and go, my God, they can play anywhere. But meanwhile, they're sitting up there. So it's interesting. It again brings my on the soapbox for we need expansion. But again, hopefully they're doing homework now while we're not doing expansion on markets that will take a team and run with it, not where we can get to see an empty arena. And we have to teach the fans how to be fans. There's enough areas where box lacrosse is prominent that we can place a team in the zone that they can make it by car, bus, walking, bike, scooter, hitchhike, whatever, and they get there. We'd like to think we're not in the early, you know, we're talking about NLL 40 years. We'd like to think we're not in year 4 where you own a team, you open up the doors after you throw down a carpet and pray somebody comes in. We'd like to think evolution is hit, that there's more elements in order that owners can make money and players in that term can make money, that we can grow the game and not lose. Because here's the other fact. The guys who are drafted high draft picks and can't crack lineups for a year or two, they're going to be there on practice squads and, you know, do things and still be raw. By year 3, are they saying, forget this, I'm going to the career that I just got a Harvard scholarship in. I now have my Yale MBA. See ya. And how many do we lose who are bona fide star players and could have really done something to bolster the game, but we lost them because we are too pig-headed to put another team somewhere that they actually have jobs. That's the worry I have, is that we actually are producing too many good players without places for them to play. So if we're going to produce them, we need to make sure that there are places, locales for them to go to. Will they always be perfect? No. Will they always be rosy? Hell no. It's sports. Random always comes into play. But at least they have jobs. And we get to be the benefactors of seeing all this talent play the game they love. And we get to be the benefactors of seeing, like we're watching now, some absolutely heart-stopping lacrosse, even when you don't have skin in the game. Like, how many of us really cared if Colorado or Calgary won? Either way, you know, I'm just hoping it's a good game. Guess what? I got a really good game. You know, Rochester and Vegas. Didn't look like it was going to be a good game. Turned out to be a great game. Privileged to be in the arena for it. That's what I'm talking about. That's how we win as fans. When it doesn't matter who the two teams are, but you sat and went away from that game going, holy smokes, I'm glad I saw that. Then we all win. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for being with us, as always, for being our patrons, and we are very appreciative of all of you, and it's so good to see you guys live and in color in all the different arenas everywhere, and we thank you. And I thank my team, as always, for putting in such hard work and dedicated service to making sure that everything is correct and out in time, that it is immense to work with these guys. Anyways, until we meet again next week, remember, keep your sticks high, keep your spirits higher, and have a great week until we see each other next Sunday at 8 p.m. Take care, everybody.